There has to be a better way where I'm not photographing 40 weddings a year because I want to spend time with my family. And I stumbled upon in-person sales and I never looked back.
We have Michael T. Davis in the house who crushes it with album design sales and wall art sales too. So let's dive right in. Welcome, Michael.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. So first, tell me about your life as a wedding photographer before you started offering albums in print, and then your life now after you kind of have it dialed in, I think.
I feel like you want me to go back into the traumatic stages. It's like the medieval stages of photography, right?
Exactly.
You know, what's interesting is I see a lot of photographers on TikTok, giving the same advice like, oh, you can't make a living, shooting for $150 a session or $300 a session. You have to work, so much. And I was that photographer. Say, hey, I'm gonna give you like 30 photos, like $300. I'm gonna photograph your wedding, $2,000, and you kind of get all the images. And I realized I was just working so hard, and in my head I was trying to figure out there has to be a better way. There has to be a better way where I'm not photographing 40 weddings a year, where I'm not trying to do 20 family portrait sessions a month because I want to spend time with my family. And so those questions kind of started going through my mind as to what does better off look like without shooting or photographing more weddings and more couples. And I stumbled upon in-person sales and I never looked back. And the fact that I can make 4, 5, 6 times as much in one session as I did in the past is actually mind-blowing. To photograph a family portrait session and they're spending $9,000 on albums and prints, and 7 years ago, I would have photographed that same session for $300. It's mind-boggling. I like it. Even better, my wife likes it. So that's all that matters.
And that's what the most important thing is. So what does your life look like now compared to then, as far as stress, time with your family, doing the things you want to do?
My son came home yesterday and wanted to go to his friend's baseball game. I was like, you know what? I can't do this. I'm in the middle of working. We plan out our calendars. And so he said, can I go tomorrow? And I was like, sure. I'm fine with going tomorrow. I pick you up from school and let's go. And I am able to do that because I don't have to sit down and be out of the house photographing and editing and doing all that stuff every day of the week. I can carve out time for my family. If I want to go out to a family dinner, I can do that. Now, granted, yes, I do have in-person sales sessions that I mark out during the week that they know, okay, daddy's working. But when he's not working, we can play NBA 2K. We can go out to the movies and we can do those things because I don't have to work with so many people. I still work as hard. I just don't have to work as hard with so many people. And putting in that amount of time, love, and attention to one client where they're fulfilled. They don't feel bamboozled. They want these things. They are willingly saying, hey, let me know how much this costs. Being very transparent. Send me over the pricing guide again. I want this wall art. This is what it looks like. And it's wonderful. I spend time with my family. My clients are fulfilled. Their children get to see themselves on their wall growing up. They have wedding albums that they can pass down. And I feel like it's a win-win for everybody.
I love it. And talking about your client story, I want to jump right in to one of your clients. And I think it's important to not only hear your story, but client stories and then how their stories come to life through your photography and then through those albums and wall art.
That's Ashley and Keon, and interestingly enough, they are probably one of my favorite clients, and it's because of their story. And their story is that their first date was at an IMAX theater. And so during our consultation, this is what they love. And I said, hey, why don't we do an engagement session inside of their theater? And they loved the idea. We got permission to do it, and we spent about an hour and a half inside the theater taking amazing portraits. Now, when I tell you that their guard was down because it was a place that they loved, they enjoyed the mood, that they knew the staff, so it was very familiar, and it was a romantic moment that we had to ourselves. When they saw the photos, we did a reveal on Zoom. They invited both of their families to it, and their moms cried because they never seen their children so beautifully photographed and being so authentically happy. And I think that's important. When we connect photography to the stories of our clients, they are more willing to spend money on having those photos forever. We're not just going to a park. We're not just, going outside and taking photos. We're creating something meaningful that's not only a part of the story, but is a part of their legacy moving forward. And so, yeah, they got this beautiful album that they show everybody. They love to talk about this album. And they even printed out some photos to hang in their house. And some of their parents have photos too, because they love it so, so much. And they connect with it. And every time they look at the photos, they're reminded of their first date at that movie theater.
Perfect. That's an awesome story. All right, so now some of the biggest questions for people out here that want to start offering albums or wall art. What album is included in your wedding or engagement packages?
So I actually start out, this is probably one of the best advices that I've received. I started out including a 10 by 10 10-page album. And what I love about this is that, one, the client's like, yes, I love the fact that I get an album and includes a little bit of pages. And I tell them right then and there, it's almost impossible to photograph or to build your wedding in 10 pages. I'm going to build it in 100, 200 pages, and then we're going to modify it together. And every time they walk away with anywhere between 80 and 150 pages of a wedding album, and they love it.
And what album size is their favorite?
The most popular album size that I do is probably a 10 by 10. Sometimes if, and don't out me. Sometimes if I like the clients, I'll upgrade them. If I really like them, to like a 12 by 12.
You heard it here. You heard it here.
10 by 10 is most popular. I think it's a really nice, good size, especially to travel with as well. And because a lot of the albums that I do offer tend to be the wood albums, they're very heavy. So when they travel with their family, they like something that they can be mobile with. Now the 12 by 12s, they're absolutely gorgeous. And those are your statement pieces that they just stay in one place. Like, we're not carrying those around anywhere. And those are lovely as well.
Album covers and materials, most popular: leather, fabric, metal, wood covers. What's your favorite, most popular?
So I'm a sucker for classic, modern, timeless. And so I work with companies that have wood album covers. And it's something about the smell of the wood, the carving in the wood, and the texture that my clients love. When they see me at the expos, when I put it in their hands, they're like, oh my God, I've never seen a wood album before. They knock on it, they touch it, and it's just being grounded in the earth. That's my top seller. So I have leather around the spine, and I love that some companies even offer vegan leather, because I've had some couples say like, hey, we don't want real leather, can we get like fake leather? So I love that too. But the biggest thing is the wood. Like they're a sucker for wood, and I love it every time.
Price per page or per image in the album?
Oh yes, that is a very contentious one. I do it per page. I've always just been a per page type of person, which is interesting because when I do engagement sessions or family portraits, I charge per image. But for weddings, I definitely do it per page. So it's kind of like a split type of model, because when I do my portrait sessions, we'll go through the images and they'll select the images, and the only images that go on the album are the images that they purchase. So it is per image. But the wedding ones, I don't want my clients to have to think about which photos go in there. Like, here are the spreads, here are the pages, this is what we built. Don't think about anything else except, does this page look beautiful, amazing, and you want to keep it. So I try to make it easy for them.
Wall art, single pieces or collections?
So I mostly do single pieces. I would love to get into that collection space. I've had some clients that, are working on building out collections. And I think that my biggest takeaway on that is that people need to be prepared to have the wall space, that to build collections. So like not necessarily living in a studio apartment. So when they start to get married and have the first house, we're thinking about building those things out. So in the infancy stage, we have one print and then we add more and more. But I always try to remind them like, hey, let's build some type of collage out on your walls so that it looks amazing.
Okay, that's going to be my challenge to you for this year. I've heard Vanessa Joy talk about this and Michaela Day talk about this. The best advice I've heard is you create the collection and then you use the same photos to do individual pieces. And what they do is they like, hey, you're in the apartment, you can put these individual pieces all over your apartment. And then when you move into your house, you can put the collection above the sofa.
And I've done that. I've done sets of individual pieces, but just not on the same wall. So in my mind, I'm like, you know what? I want someone to walk into the house and see an entire montage, like stairwell and staircase. Like I have these grand visions of what their house should look like. But yes, I do have people have purchased 3, 4, 5 pieces and put them in different rooms. But I always see them as like individual pieces and not collections. But they could be collections.
Last one, slideshows, single images or the album designs or hybrid?
My slideshows are album designs. I want them to fall in love with the story and the collage and what that looks like. So whenever I go into Fundy and I show them what their album looks like, it's always the pages, it's always the slides inside of their slideshow. And then they just fall in love with the story. There's nothing wrong with the single images. I think that for me, sometimes there's a disconnect. They see one image and then the other, and they try to figure out how it connects. And as a storyteller myself, I want to take that thinking process out of it. I don't want them to have to build that connection themselves. I want to build it for them. So I always have multiple images through that slideshow.
Show what you want to sell.
Yep.
This has been an awesome conversation. I hope you have learned a lot. Be sure to follow Michael T. Davis on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok if you're on there also, and follow how he communicates with his clients and what he's communicating.
I'm Michael T. Davis, and that's my story.